Hello, Facebook Live. I'm Dan Rochon. Today, I am really pleased to be joined with a special guest, Reed Goossens, and he and I are going to be talking a little bit about real estate investing today. And Reed, he came to Los Angeles from Australia, and I want to learn a little bit more about that from you today. And really wanted to chase a dream, and had almost no money, no credit, no investing experience, and went on to crush it in real estate investing. So he's got a couple of books that we're going to talk about today as well, and about achieving financial freedom and taking control of life, and how he's been able to guide other investors into successfully investing in the United States. Welcome, Reed.
G'day, mate. Thanks for having me.
All right. I love it when we start off as a mate. That's the best. That is the best way to start a conversation,
isn't it? It is. It's a Thursday, day before the weekend. So I'm pumped.
Fantastic. Yeah. So Reed, welcome. So tell us a little about yourself. So you've been in Los Angeles and United States since 2012, and then Los Angeles for a few years, and you like to go surfing. And
yes.
How'd you get to the United States from Australia?
Oh, mate, look, it's a great story. I'm not going to try and bore you with it, but essentially I came here for love, right? I spent my background's in structural engineering, and I graduated in 2007, and after 2007, in 2008, went straight to London and worked on the 2012 Olympic Games as a structural engineer, but in 2008. And then in 2009, I went backpacking around Europe, and that's when, on the beaches of Spain, I met my then girlfriend, now wife, American girlfriend, that is, my beautiful wife, Erica. And fast forward a couple of years, she actually came out to Australia and did her master's degree in 2010, 2011 in marine science. And then at the end of 2011, during 2011, 2010, I picked up the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that's really the start of okay, I can't sit in this cubicle for the rest of my life, speech and feeling like that sort of star athlete. So I've sort of chucked a few stories in there, but really it was meeting her, traveling the world, being sort of back in Australia, back in my day job and going, geez, I've got more to give. And so into 2011, she finishes her degree in Australia, and we wanted to be together. And I said, well, look, I really want to move to New York. It's been a bit of a dream of mine to live as an expat. So I said, screw it. Let's quit my well-paying day job and move to New York. I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't know anyone besides Erica. She's not even from New York, so she still didn't know anyone either. And it's a fresh relationship in New York City, the Big Apple. So we gave it a crack, and as I said, I already had the investing bug at that point. So it took me, I think, less than 6 months to buy my first little triplex in upstate New York. Wow. And for all those people listening or watching the Facebook Live, here in America, you couldn't buy, also in Australia, you couldn't buy a $38,000 property, and sort of these, your primary markets, you got your secondary markets. And I was just blown away at how cheap some properties were in some parts of the country. And I was just like, wow, you can buy a triplex for $38,000. And it was really a fresh-faced Aussie coming to the world and realizing that I was investing in the ghetto. But that's, hey, you got to get started, right? You got to do deal number one before you do get to deal number 10. So yeah, that's really the coming to America story.
Do you still own the triplex today?
No, I do not. It was, and then for this bit of the context, by the time I bought that property, I'd been self-educating for a couple of years now. I'd been doing some seminars in Australia, going to sort of real estate events in Aussie. But then when I came to New York City, just the plethora or the widespread different organizations, and I'm not just talking about the investment organizations, but the different meetups that are available at your fingertips. And I was just like, you couldn't even find that, and you have to pay a guru in Australia a lot of money to get that sort of education. And these were readily available once a month, and again, being the Big Apple, it was like taking information out of a fire hose. So I sort of had to spend the first couple of months getting my head wrapped around the investing lingo here. And obviously then finding a market that I could invest in, because the other thing that I didn't mention, being fresh off the boat, I had no idea what a credit score was. I had no idea how to get money. No one was going to lend to me. I'm a fresh-faced Aussie with no banking credit here or history in the United States. So I actually bought that first property all cash.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you saved up, or you already had saved up $38,000, and then you were able to buy a cash.
Yeah, saved up $38,000, and I still remember jumping on the Greyhound. And the reason I chose Syracuse, New York, was because it was affordable, one, but I could get on a 4-hour Greyhound bus from New York City, get on a 7 a.m. Greyhound bus, get up there on Saturday, see a few deals, get back on the bus, and be back in the city for a couple of drinks with the lads around 6 or 7 o'clock. So it was a bit of a chore, but it got me going, right? You don't get anywhere in life without giving it a crack. And for me, Dan, like sitting here talking to you and looking back on the journey, I had no expectations that I would come to the United States and grow a portfolio, and we can talk about that in a little bit. Yeah. I just came here to be an expat, and just to give it a go. The thing about me is I have this fear of regret, and I would hate to wake up when I'm 70 years of age going, God, I wish I'd moved to the United States back in 2012, because honestly, even if I'd failed at it and I didn't get a job or I didn't start investing or whatever, I would have just moved back to Australia and continued my life.
Hey, I took my shot and all's good, right?
Yeah, exactly. So my whole shtick is that you got to be able to back yourself and take a bet on yourself. And I think that regardless of what business you're in, whether it's real estate agents or investing, you just have to learn to. You are the best person to bet on. Don't bet on your brother or your sister or someone else. Like, you are the person, and you got to go out and get educated and all that sort of good stuff. But there comes a point where you got to take that leap of faith. And if you aren't practicing pushing the boundaries and getting uncomfortable, then you'll stay in your bubble for the rest of your life, and you won't go off to achieve awesome, incredible stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome advice, Reed. So bet on yourself. So go back to and we'll walk forward to your portfolio that you have today and the steps that you went through that. But I'm really interested on the first one, because that's where, many people, they may be doing their first one today.
Sure.
And so, all right, 38,000, that's a lot of money, yet it's within reach. You could put that together. And how did you find the property? And then what was your return on the investment? Do you recall?
Yeah. So again, for me, you got to put it in context. Like so the thing that I was blown away by, what I spoke about earlier about the different meetup groups, I went to the Real Estate Investment Association, the REIAs. You probably have heard of them. They're around every major city in the United States. Incredible organization that, again, coming as an outsider, to see that at the fingertips, I'm surrounded by 30 or 40 other blokes or girls who are all investing. Like, they all want to be like me, and we meet brokers and real estate agents. It was great. And so for me, I started going to those events and I went on little bus tours to Baltimore, some more affordable markets where I could make my money work, because I wasn't able to afford New York. And then I found Syracuse, and again, it was a university town. I spent probably 3 or 4 months going up there probably every other weekend, on the Greyhound bus again, and just meeting brokers, cold calling. They would pick me up from the Greyhound bus station, and they'll take me for a little cruise around and show me a couple of little properties. And over a period of, again, 3 or 4 months and a couple of visits, you got to understand where growth was happening in the city. I was riding, shotgun with these brokers, and these are just small time folks who are trying to sell some small properties. But they were very wise in terms of they'd grown up in Syracuse. And so they were able to give me a lot of information on the city. Ultimately, I was still hamstrung by the fact I only had $38,000 and I couldn't go borrow more. So I was only really defined to cheap Section 8 housing. And it was a lesson, to say the least, Dan, that first property. So
what did you learn?
Had a drive-by shooting in the first 6 months. But on paper, these things look great. And looking back on it, you can make a lot of money.
Saying that the paper doesn't tell you about the drive-by potential?
No, my friend, it doesn't. And looking at wow, this thing's a 13 cap or a 14 cap, like it's going to be crazy good cash flow. Well, also the cap rate is a reflection of the risk, right? It's a higher risk.
That's a completely a new version of a cap rate, right? They like cap your right?
And so it was, but hey, like back to I vividly remember sitting on the train in New York in the subway, going to work, going to my engineering job, and just nosing a book, and had been at this, making sure that I could get on that treadmill and get that first deal done. And it was my money. It wasn't anyone else's money. I was willing to risk it to get that first deal done, to learn. And looking back on it, there's so many lessons learned on that sort of stuff and those sort of smaller investments. But it paved the way it started paving the way to where I am today. So
So what was next after the mistake or opportunity to learn? What happened next?
Well, the capping or the drive-by shooting actually didn't happen straight away. The first 6 months was great. It actually was performing very similar to the paper. And what I had done in that 6 months of time, I was able to go to a local bank. It was called First Niagara Bank. I don't think they're around anymore. And I was able to develop a relationship with the local bank manager and depositing rental checks. And again, remembering I'm trying to build the credit.
You already know 87% of all real estate agents fail in this business. And you also know it doesn't have to be that way. If you're a real estate agent and you're looking for consistent and predictable income, I invite for you to get your free copy of Real Estate Evolution, the 10-step guide to C.P.I, consistent and predictable income for real estate agents. And you can do so when you visit www.therealestateevolution.com. I'll share with you your book that I authored to show you the way. And it's free. You just have to pay for the shipping. Thanks.
I'm trying to build the trust to eventually pull some money out of that first deal to buy deal number 2. And that's what I did. I bought a second duplex for $45,000. And that thing was... That was in Syracuse, okay. And that was an ATM. Right. It was printing money. $1,200. It was $600 upstairs and downstairs.
It was 40 what? 48?
$1,200. $600 up upstairs. $600.
What did you buy it for?
$45,000.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
And so these were immigrants, and they were paying money on time. It was fantastic. It was it showed me that you could do this at scale. The problem for me was that I was working full time, right? And I only had a limited amount of savings and I only had a limited amount of lending ability until I really was going to come to the end of my tether. And so at the same time, I then started looking at let's get some cash, like bigger chunks of money through flipping. And I started looking at doing flips in Philadelphia whilst working full time. And ultimately, the question you asked before is, do I still have these properties? No, I don't, because I ultimately shifted the business and my focus of the business to multifamily syndication in the commercial side. And I ended up liquidating those assets to give me some money to build the business. But yeah, I had 3 or 4 little deals done before I started getting involved in syndication. So yeah.
Okay, so you did 3. You had at this point maybe 3 or 4 triplex duplexes, and then you sold them and then got into syndication. Is that the next step?
Yeah, so the next step really was pivotal moments in your life, and you always got to remember them. One was picking up Rich Dad Poor Dad. The second one was having a beer with my mate from Canada. He came down to New York City, and I'm boasting to him over the beer. Oh, mate, I've got these 3 or 4 little properties in upstate New York. I'm crushing it, blah, blah, blah. But I'm still working full time. And I knew that I was coming to the end of my tether in terms of what I could lend and all that sort of stuff. But I wasn't financially free. I was still working full time. And he goes to me, well done, Reed, and good on you. And he's like, I just closed on a 70-unit deal. And I said, 70? And he said, yeah, 70. And I said, how the hell did you do that? This, again, a conversation that blows your mind, and you're like, what? He went on to tell me that, he got a mentor. He was able to use that mentor to show him how to do seller carryback financing on this property. And he was able to raise a little bit of money from his friends and family, about $500,000 to go and put it as a down payment. So just, as simple as that rolls off the tongue. It was obviously a lot of process in there, but the key there was mentor. And I had known up until this point, I've been, going back to those RIA seminars and being preached $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 mentorship programs. And I can, look, I'm good. And I wanted to go learn myself and make my own mistakes. But I knew at that point I was coming again back to the end of the tether, end of my rope, that I needed someone around me to take me to that next level, right? And that's from that conversation, I said, okay, I'm going to go out and get a mentor. And that's what I did. So yeah.
How'd you find your mentor?
I'm very frugal with my money. And so in the beginning, I found someone who had only done one major multifamily deal. He was a little bit older than me, probably 3 or 4 years older than me. But he was also affordable. And that's all the whole mindset of saying I'm going to, and part of, I actually sold that first property with the shooting. I sold that in order to give myself a little bit of cash to pay mentors and stuff. But he was $2,500 at the time. It wasn't a massive amount of experience, but what it did was, Dan, it was me physically handing over a check going, I'm investing in myself. And that was the most important thing.
So Reed, so $2.5 grand, and then what did that get? How long did he help you? How long?
He helped me for over 12 months.
So $2.5 grand for 12 months of mentorship, basically.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't find it. He's not that today. Trust me, he's a lot more expensive.
No,
but the whole idea of it was, Dan, is that I was willing to, again, go back to betting on yourself. I was giving myself permission to go and spend this money on myself because I knew that I wanted to be. I was taking the bet on myself again. That I'd already moved halfway across the world. I got a job, started investing. Like things were already going way better than what I expected. You've come this far. Let's stop now. So that's where.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So rich dad, poor dad, couple triplexes, couple duplexes, mentor, sells the properties. What's next?
Next is the brand building, and I think part of what a lot of people. And again, I'm a structural engineer. So coming into this, my mentor helped me give me some ideas about starting a podcast. And the podcast really, I was going through this process of learning about these incredible investments here in America, cheap investments. This is 2013, early 2014. Learning about credit scores, LLCs, all this stuff that I thought, hey, other international folks are going to want to know this because I'm going through it, right? So I said, well, there's no one out there in the podcasting world talking about to the international folks. And so at the beginning, I niched till it hurts. And when I opened my mouth, I had this weird accent. So I called it Investing in the US, an Aussie's Guide to US Real Estate. And I started pressing play. And the first 20 episodes were about, my journey and all that sort of stuff. And 4.5 years later, we're still recording. It's completely pivoted and changed over. It's still called Investing in the US, but it again, I'm black and white brain. I'm a math guy. I'm a civil engineer. I had no idea about how to go out and be creative, about going and building a brand. It was just like, again, I feel awkward putting this a podcast out and me speaking on a microphone, but someone's going to want to listen. Someone's going to find it valuable. And that's probably the message to your folks here on Facebook Live. As brokers, as agents, how can you be helpful to the other people in your community? How can you be the thought leader or the key person of influence when they think of real estate? And that's the power of the personal brand, sharing that story, sharing those vulnerabilities, sharing my journey, and a lot of people resonated with it. So
now, do you consider you the brand? Are you the brand, or
I'm the brand? I'm the brand. Like I Reed Goossens and the brand. People invest in me first and foremost. The deal is secondary. Similar to where if you're going to get a listing or if you're going to get someone to a listing, they want to hear your story a little bit. They want to know that okay, you've got an edge. What's your edge? What's something interesting that they resonate with? That, hey, that's a cool thing that you do. I like you. Yeah, you're going to get my listing. You know what I mean? Like, how do you be different? Because there's this saying, I can't remember who said it. Being different is better than being better. So being different is better than being better. And my shtick was being different. Now I don't need to be the next Tony Robbins or the next Tim Ferriss, and neither does anyone who wants to create a successful business. You just have to have a following of maybe it's 400 or 500 people, and that's all it needs to be. And you can create an audience for yourself, and through that,
you would say that 400 to 500 would be your niche audience, correct?
Niche audience, niche base that they just love everything you do. Everything that you put out, they just want to pick it up and they want to consume it. And then from there, they're telling other people and other folks, and it just gets this snowball effect. But again, it comes back to your why. It comes back to your story, and it comes back to your why, and what makes you different. And for me, making me different. What's that?
What's your why?
for the long, this is, and I'll bring some other stuff in here. For the longest period of time, Dan, my why was to become my own boss, my financial freedom. I've achieved that now. But for the last, don't forget the fact that up until I think it was 2017 when I was able to quit the corporate job, and all throughout that I was doing deals on the side, building the podcast, all that sort of stuff, because I had to have a green card before I could go full time. You know what I mean? So so for up until then, the North Star was financial freedom, being your own boss, taking control of your time. And that's probably the biggest why, is that my time is my most valuable asset. Back to what Rich Dad Poor Dad says, that you need to control it and you need to be able to earn money while you sleep. And that's what enticed me. The vehicle of real estate just happens to be that one vehicle. I could have chose stocks. I could have chose investing in businesses. You can choose anything. For me, real estate resonated. So thus I became a real estate investor.
So let's go back to branding, because you're talking about branding, you're talking about niche and being different.
Yep.
And so real estate agents are, what I found is that they're either going to be a salesperson or a business owner.
Yep.
Right. And so the sales, and both are fantastic. But what I also found is the business owner real estate agent typically is going to be more geared towards branding and that type of thing. And then the salesperson is going to be more geared towards the relationships.
Yes.
So how do you sort of, combine those two, or do you, or what would you recommend?
You already know 87% of all real estate agents fail in this business. And you also know it doesn't have to be that way. If you're a real estate agent and you're looking for consistent and predictable income, I invite for you to get your free copy of Real Estate Evolution, the 10-step guide to C.P.I, consistent and predictable income for real estate agents. And you can do so when you visit www.therealestateevolution.com. I'll share with you your book that I authored to show you the way. And it's free. You just have to pay for the shipping. Thanks.
Recommend for a real estate agent that's interested in that business owner mentality, besides niching, like say I don't have a cool accent from Australia and call everyone blokes and, tethers, tethered for the rope, say I don't have that ability. What advice would you give?
We all have a story. Everyone is standing on a mountain of value. You have to understand what that value is. And I can't answer it for you. I don't know what your value is until you get to, you need to dig deep and understand what the why is that you're doing this for. Why do you want to be a business owner? Why do you want to take control of your life? Is it because you feed your family? Is it because you've had hardships coming up with money? Is it because you had for me personally, I recently had a death in my family back in 2017 when I wasn't financially free or my own boss. And I kick myself today that I wish I was there, what I am today. You know what I mean? And so there's so many things that can lead you to your why and to your determination. You have to unpack that, and then that can create your story, and that can create your value. And through that, you can then go share it with other people and create your brand around it, because again, everyone's going to be unique. Everyone's going to be different. What is your difference? And that's what
about, all right. So that's what you're communicating. And then what's the methodology to communicate besides the podcast?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. Podcasting for me was, you can do blogs, you can have a website, all that sort of stuff. You can have a monthly newsletter. For me, you can have videos if you want. For me, it was audio. Audio was the best for me. I don't like writing. I didn't really like writing growing up. My parents cursed me by calling me Reed, So it's, writing blogs is all well and good, but I like getting on and jamming with folks like yourself, Dan. And you got to find what you're good at, right? You might be good at writing blogs. Well, bloody write blogs and get your content out there. But you got to be consistent with it, right? And here's the biggest thing. People don't underestimate how long it's going to take to truly build a cracking brand. And I use the word cracking again, my Aussiness coming out. But it takes time.
A cracking brand, damn it.
It takes time. It takes time. And so what people think, again, back to the working out analogy, getting on the treadmill, if you think you're going to lose 40 pounds in a month, you're joking, right? And the same thing.
Time on task over time. Yeah.
It's the same thing with building a brand. It's just anything that's worth building will take time. If you're going into building a business and you don't think it's at least 3 years worth of hard work, and when I say building, I mean 3 years of content creation, whether blogs or news articles or podcasts or videos, and you're not doing it consistently, then you don't start, because you'll fall short and you'll shoot yourself in the foot by going, oh, I give up because I'm not seeing the results. It's through consistency. It's through leveraging platforms like iTunes and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook Live that will able to get your message out into the world. And when you do it consistently every week at whatever it is, or every month at whatever it is, you will start to build an audience. It will be slow at the beginning. It will be your grandmother and your mother only listening to it, which was like what
maybe.
Maybe. But at the end of the day, you don't have to be the Tony Robbins. It's okay not to be. And I'm not the Tony Robbins. I don't ever aspire to be, but I aspire to have some audience that's going to listen to what I have to say. And through that, I can cultivate a business and I can cultivate revenue. And that's the most important thing.
Reed, you said something really interesting there. That I want to, I don't want to have that pass by us. So what I heard you say, and a lot of listeners and viewers would completely miss this, I heard you say, I don't like to write, yet you've written 2 books, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so tell me about that. Well, and then I want to know specifically like the writing process, right?
Yep.
And, you know, if someone that doesn't like to do it, and then I want to hear about the book. So
Yep.
what causes you, like, how do you bring that, you know, bring yourself to do that? I mean, tell us about that.
So it's, again, the beauty of marketing and the beauty of, the book was launched in 2018. The podcast had been going for about 3 years at that stage. So I could take all the audio content, convert it into transcripts, and then use that as the base of the book to then help and then intertwine my story through it, and help with the help of editors and ghostwriters to help me sort of add a bit of source to it. But again, it was through content I'd already created. It was through audio content that I was able to turn it into written content. You can do the other way around. You can do written content into audio. You know, like, so
Sure.
It's just repurposing old content, and it's evergreen. And that's the beauty of what we do in this world of creating content, is that it will be evergreen. If you're teaching someone about how to find the best house, or how to know that you're reading the right inspection reports as a broker or an agent, that's still going to be valuable today as it is going to be in 2 years' time. Unlike the news cycle, which you're not watching news from 6 months ago, right? You're only watching it today. So having evergreen content is really important, and using different mediums, i.e. the audio or video or written, and creating other digital assets, and digital assets being a podcast or a book or a YouTube channel.
Sure.
It's all just repurposing the same stuff. And again, saying the same story, saying the same message, and people will start to listen. Because at the end of the day, I think back in the day you had to tell someone 7 times about something before it clicks. Today it's 25 with social media.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. There's so much coming at you. It's like,
exactly. So that's
how
it works.
Tell us specifically about the books, or one or both of them. You know,
Sure.
What did you write about? How can we get that book?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that.
The first book was just literally taking the best episodes of my podcast and jamming them into a step-by-step guide for learning about how to invest in US real estate, not just for foreign investors, for anyone, right? And having my Aussie twist to it, right? Because it was just this weird experience. And it walks everything from learning in the investment lingo, to understanding how to read a P&L, to understanding how to go and finance a deal, to building the right team members around you in order to be successful as an investor, all the way through to 1031 exchanges, which blew my mind when I first moved here. You know, like,
Sure.
So all these things, syndication, like the different chapters. And it just, again, was it's now an extension of my business card. I give them out for free. I try to line the walls and the floor with them, but I don't tend to make a profit out of it. But it also helps me build credibility in the eyes of my investors. They got a podcast, I've got a book, I've got audio, I've got video, all that stuff. That helps the snowball effect of build momentum as you start building.
What's the name of that book?
It's literally called the same as a podcast: Investing in the US: The Ultimate Guide to US Real Estate. So that's
and then you invest it. All right, and then you do the second one.
Second one is called 10,000 Miles to the American Dream, and so as I was building the business and building the podcast, I started interviewing these other Aussies who had made the pilgrimage across the ditch and had created financial freedom through US real estate. We started a mastermind, which was just like, because we wanted to jump on a monthly call and have a bit of banter and, you know, call each other's blokes and, you know, idiots and all that sort of stuff. And through that, we became really good friends, and we had meetups once a year. We brought the wives, the girlfriends. And over time, that sort of progressed into, hey, why don't we all write a chapter? And each chapter will be our story. And it's just a collection of eight Aussies who've made the pilgrimage across the ditch. It's called 10,000 Miles to the American Dream, our story of financial freedom. And each one is a different chapter, a different author, but has a different story about how they got to financial freedom using different elements of US real estate. It wasn't just in multifamily or residential. There was mobile home parks. There was a guy came out, moved over here to Silicon Valley and created a real estate technology company. So,
wow.
You know, it's got just a lot of juice in there, and we wanted to share that story with other people to hopefully inspire them to do to take action in their life. So yeah.
That's fantastic. So Reed, if you were, and thank you for sharing that, and listeners and viewers can get that where?
They can get it on Amazon. It's or they can just head to my website, is reedgoossens.com, and they're both there. And just another little plug before we join. The first book, Investing in the US, we're just talking about it offline, has just gone to audible.com. So if you're not a reader, you can listen to it. So yeah.
Fantastic. So as the world opens up and you get back in your cars, you can listen to Reed's fantastic wisdom.
Try to.
Reed, so let's say you're talking to Reed of 12 years ago, and you're giving him some advice for the future. What would you say?
I get this question a lot, and I'm going to preface it with something else, and I'll come back to that question. A lot of people come to me and say, I wish I did X. I wish I did this X amount of years ago. And that negative self-talk, to me, give yourself the permission that it's okay where you are right now in your life. If you've only stumbled across real estate or becoming a real estate agent today and you wish you got into it 20 years ago, well, that's okay. It's your story. It's your journey. And you have to be okay with that, because the fact is, it is who you are, and it will make you the better person, the better business owner, to help bring that branding together, to bring that story together. So looking at myself 12 years ago, I don't have any regrets, knock on wood. I'm really grateful for that. And I guess the only piece of advice is mate, life's going to be freaking awesome. So, just chill out. You'll be fine. I don't know what else to say. So yeah.
Don't stress. It's all going to work out.
It's exactly. So
that's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. All right. So you gave a lot of different ways that we can get in touch with you, and you're online, you're on social media.
Yep.
Which is the one that you would most direct people to, like if there was one, where would you direct them to find it?
I'm very active on Instagram and LinkedIn. And I got another offer for your audience. Once we get back on planes, if anyone is ever coming through LA and just want to meet up for a beer or a coffee and talk shop, you can also hit me up at info at reedgoossens.com, and just give me a month or two heads up when you're coming into town. We can organize something. I always love meeting up with other guys and girls who hear me on a podcast and want to just chat and yarn. So yeah, simple ways to reach out.
Awesome. Reed, thank you so much. Best of luck for your exciting next 75 years of your life. That's going to be awesome. And thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, brother. Be well.
Give us a thumbs up by clicking the like button below. Don't forget to subscribe to Get Rock Solid Coaching Channel and stay ahead of the game.